And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes Goodman and Rank. Troy is taking the day off from me. Joining me, another guy from Fox 31. I thought I got rid of Bruce, but you guys just keep on coming through the pipeline. How are you, Mick?
I'm good, Eric. How's it going? Yes, us TV people have found a way to survive in the midst of the digital era. So appreciate you having me on again.
You are welcome. Before we get this thing going, I want to tell you about Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk. They always have great promotions going on, and right now they are giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or nearly $25,000 in cash the weekend of May 16th. Earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming players' points on your player's card. You can also earn a chance to win during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos highly recommend going there when you're up in Blackhawk or near Central City. They have loose slots, great promotions, outstanding food, a family-owned casino that treats you like family. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Okay, Mick, the Broncos got good grades. According to the NFLPAs, they came out with their annual report cards, and this is impressive as the Broncos ace the test. I think that is fair to say. I'm going to go through each one briefly just to give everyone out there how well the Broncos scored. Team ownership got an A+. Head coach, B. Offensive coordinator, A-. Defensive coordinator, A. Special teams coach, A. Position coaches, B. Strength coaches, A. GM, A. Training staff, A. Weightlift room, A. Training room, A+. Locker room, D. Nutrition and dietitian, B+. Food, dining area, an A. Home field, an A. Getting the picture here. Team travel, an A-. Treatment of families, A, B. Mick, what sticks out to you the most?
There were two grades that really stuck out to me. One was the locker room getting a D, and then ownership getting an A+, because those are directly correlated. Because ownership is an A+, that locker room D grade is going to be taken care of in a couple of months when that $100+ million practice facility gets taken care of. Look, if you look across the National Football League, nobody really likes their boss. Let's be honest. But the Broncos have found a boss in Greg Penner and the Walton Penner ownership group where they're doing basically whatever they feel is necessary to make sure the players are taken care of, whether that's building a practice facility, a new stadium, or taking out the grass halfway through the season to make sure that those guys are healthy. I think Greg Penner and the Walton Penner ownership group, everything that they have done to make sure that the orange and blue are in the best position possible to succeed, that has been something that has been very, very impressive. And I think that's something that the Denver Broncos can lean on going into the future. Because, Eric, as you know, there are owners out there that are complete imbeciles. I grew up in D.C. during the Dan Snyder era, and there's a reason that the first year that he was out of DC, Josh Harris and the Commanders were able to go to the NFC Championship. Sean Payton talks about it all the time. Ownership truly matters. That's one of the top reasons that Sean Payton took the job. So when I saw the report card and I saw an A+ for the Denver Broncos, and then I looked at the 31 other clubs and saw the grades for ownership, I think it says a lot that the Broncos have a guy and a family that are working hard to make sure that this team is in the best position possible to succeed.
I'll tell you what astounds me is the A+, to your point about ownership. I'll tell you a quick story about my grandmother, who I absolutely adored. She was the salutatorian of her high school class. She got a full ride to go to the University of Chicago. She was that whip smart on and off the field, in school and out of school. And one year she was in high school, and it was like an essay or something. And the teacher gave her 100%. And she walked up to the teacher and said, "I cannot accept this grade." And the teacher said, "You can't accept 100%? You can't accept an A+?" And she said, "I cannot, because I am not perfect. Nobody is perfect. So I will not accept your 100%. So the teacher gave her a 99 and everybody walked away thrilled. The point is, an A+ is pretty stellar. That is perfect. So good on the Penners for their players believing that they are perfect owners. But the thing that really stuck out to me more so than anything else was A's pretty much across the board, except for head coach. Now, a B is an outstanding grade. But Sean Payton also called plays, and the offensive coordinator got an A minus. So the guy who just left, was he the A minus? Was it Sean who was calling plays the A minus? And how did that become a B for overall head coach?
I mean, I don't want to parlay my high school basketball career to what goes on in the National Football League, but typically you like your assistant coaches a little bit more than your head coach because, let's be honest, a guy like Joe Lombardi and even a guy like Vance Joseph, they tend to be a little bit more easygoing. They tend to be a little bit more fun. So from a player perspective, maybe it's just as much as, hey, Joe and Vance are the good guys. I can kind of go to them and complain about Sean, whereas Coach Payton is really the disciplinarian. He's making sure that everybody stays in line. That's what I would make from that grade, is that head coach Sean Payton, listen, he is a hard-headed head coach. A lot of players like Dre Greenlaw said, I played for, Kyle Shanahan, and our practices were way more chill than Sean Payton. Sean's an old-school kind of guy, and so I think that's probably where that grade comes from. You never really can say that your boss or the guy that's in charge of you is the greatest of all time, whereas kind of the assistants you can have a little bit more fun with.
Who's your news director over at Fox 31 and Channel 2?
I'm not going to get myself fired today, Eric.
You're the one who already said it. So what's the name of the guy or gal? Who is it?
He is Mr. News Director in my book.
I hope he is not listening to this podcast right now. With that, I am wondering, I know it is all about money when it comes to free agency, but I'm wondering if there is a tie break. Is somebody building you a new sauna in your house?
Yeah, I'm getting I'm like the Broncos. I got something building and cooking up here.
What the hell is going on in your house?
Looks like there's some cleaning going on.
Who's doing the cleaning?
Not me. I can tell you that much. It's never going to be me.
Because I'm hearing, it sounds like it's more construction than anything else. Is somebody like installing hardwood floors at your house?
Somewhat, yeah. I got some work going on around the house. I'm like the Denver Broncos. I'm trying to upgrade in every facet that I can.
Well, you know what? Whoever moves into your house will certainly give you an A+. But getting back to this report card thing, I'm wondering if this will affect free agents at all on where they decide to go. I know money is the overall thing, but I'm wondering how much ownership getting an A+, facilities, all that stuff will play into it. What do you think?
I mean, this is a report card that's voted on by the players, right? And like players talk to each other in the National Football League. And if a guy is interested in the Denver Broncos, he's going to ask some of the questions that are on the report card, like how is ownership? How is Sean Payton actually? What's the locker room like? How do they treat these families? Like those things matter to these type of players. And I think that the Denver Broncos having one of the best report cards in the National Football League will play a factor into free agency, because I can tell you, like having grown up in the business where my dad covered this team, like he would tell me, and I would like see players interacting with one another. And I know tampering is frowned upon, but let's be honest, it happens in every single sport. Text messaging, FaceTime, phone calls being made. Players talk to one another. They want to know. I'm pretty sure Talanoa Hufanga and Drake Greenlaw were talking to each other before they both signed with the Denver Broncos, being like, hey, you want to do this? You want to do this? And I'm pretty sure that they had conversations with Patrick Surtain. So I do think when it comes to free agency, and even when it comes to maybe trades being made, these guys are going to call each other. They're going to talk to each other. They try to get to know what it really is like. This is just like any other business. If you have a friend that works at a company and you're interested in that company, you're going to call him. You're going to text him. You're going to send a couple of emails to try to figure out what is that scenario like. And I think this report card says a lot about the Denver Broncos, and certainly will help in free agency when there's guys that want to come play for Denver.
I'm going to phrase the question this way, because there is a difference in age between us. You are young enough to be my son. And that's why I'm asking you this question, because I think we might have a similar answer, but I'm not sure. Let's say, for the sake of argument, you got an offer from the Broncos at, let's just call it $5 million. And then you get an offer from another team where that report card is not very good, specifically at ownership. Ownership got a D+. The Broncos got an A+. And that team that doesn't have good ownership, and a lot of these grades are not very good, and they offered you $6 million. The Broncos offer you $5 million. Where are you going?
I'm going to the Broncos because, well, one, that pay disparity isn't as big as you would think it is. Like, yeah, $6 million is a lot of money, $5 million is a lot of money, but $1 million isn't going to be the end all be all. I want to play.
So what's your line of demarcation? What number gets you to the other team with bad ownership, not a great organization?
Now, say bad ownership was at 10 and good ownership was at 5, I probably would go to bad ownership for 10, depending on where I am in my career. If I'm a rookie and I haven't gotten that big contract yet, maybe I'm seeking that big contract selfishly because I want to be able to take care of myself and my family moving forward. But if I'm a veteran, or even if I'm a young guy and it's a 5 and 6 that doesn't have that big of a disparity, I'm going to go to the scenario that's going to put me in the best position possible. Because guess what? Especially at the National Football League, you can make that money back. Like, you can have these endorsements. You can go out and be proactive in the ways that you can bring in revenue. And if you're a member of the Denver Broncos, guess what? There's going to be multiple opportunities for you to go out and make money. I want to play for an owner. I want to play for a team. I want to play for an organization that's going to put me in the best position possible. And if that means making $1 million less, I think I'm going to be able to make that up, because also the Walton Penners and George Paton have shown if you come to this organization and you do everything that you're asked of, if you're a Zach Allen, if you're a DJ Jones, if you're one of these guys, you will get extended. They will take care of you. I think that's another reason that ownership has gotten an A+. I think that's why George Paton has gotten an A, because I think this organization is very transparent. I think they're very honest, and I think that they want everybody that comes to this organization to succeed.
Well, you are wise beyond your years, my friend, because I don't know of many people your age, and you're in your 30s. Is that right? Or late 20s?
Yeah. 32.
You're wise beyond your years, because a lot of people just don't see that. I say this to young people all the time. There is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Have you ever heard this one? Because there is. Okay. The difference is knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that a tomato does not belong in a fruit salad. And until you cross that barrier, you're always going to be chasing the money. I think, to me, it's more important to be happy where I work than how much I get paid. Although you have to be able to strike a balance on that as well. With that, NFL.com analyst Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah both have inside linebacker C.J. Allen going 30th overall to the Broncos in their latest mock drafts. And the Broncos could very well indeed need an inside linebacker, specifically a young inside linebacker, if Alex Singleton decides to chase the money. That's what he wants to do. However, with Vance Joseph coming back, I'm guessing he might take a little bit of a hometown discount. Justin Strnad has made it very clear that he wants to be a starter in this league. Allen is at the combine, but says he will not be doing any on-field drill work, and he will wait until his pro day at Georgia to do it. Now, as you know, it is common for high draft picks not to be on the field during the combine. So is it a little concerning that he is skipping this on-field work, considering he's not expected to be a top 10 pick? He might last till 30 with the Broncos.
Eric, as you know, these younger athletes, they're starting to become smarter in some aspects, and they're starting to become more dependent on agents and other individuals to make decisions for them. I think the NFL draft combine is exactly what has happened to the NIL era of college football and college athletics. He's probably getting advice from an agent who wants to make more money and is afraid that if he doesn't run a 4.5 40, or if he doesn't have a certain time on a cone drill or doing different sorts of workouts in his underwear, that his somehow draft stock is going to fall, and therefore the agent isn't going to be able to make as much money as possible. The combine has always been a little bit silly to me, but here's my thing. If everybody is doing it and it is something that has allowed a lot of players to see their draft stock rise, like if you're a Sonny Styles yesterday, holy cow, you put on a show in a combine, all you have to do is nail your interviews and you might be a top 5 pick in this year's NFL draft. I'm always for these athletes putting themselves out there and to compete on a level that is like, I don't really care how I perform, but I believe in myself to be able to go out there and put my best foot forward. That tells me a lot about a player. If they don't really want to be on that stage and they're not, for example, a Joe Burrow or a guy that's a consensus number 1, that is a little bit weary for me, especially in an area where all these kids are jumping in the portal or they're going to a situation that gets them more money. That's a little concerning to me. But if I'm the Denver Broncos, I think the interview process is probably what's most important because you can actually get an explanation from this kid as to, hey, why are you not participating? Did you get advice to do so? And then you can go to the pro day because the pro day is probably where he's going to be a little bit more comfortable. He's going to be in an environment that he grew up playing in. So it's a two-edged sword of how you kind of evaluate players, what you're really looking for. But I am on the side of I'd rather see, especially if you're going to be a 30th overall pick or maybe if you're going to be a second-round pick, I do want to see you compete. I do want to see you in high.
What would you do? What would you do? You're not going to be a top 10 pick. You're not Fernando Mendoza. You're probably going to go anywhere between 10 and 30. Would you personally compete at the combine, even if your agent said to you, don't do it?
Yeah, I personally would do it because I want these NFL teams to know that no matter if I'm in my underwear or pads or whatever, if there's a competitive advantage to have, I'm going to take that. If there's anything competitive, I want to be out there competing at the highest level because let's be honest, while some of these kids are interviewing with these NFL clubs, they're not really interviewing because they're going to get selected or not selected, whether they want to go to this team or not. There's only been a couple of Eli Mannings who have gone out there and tried to determine where they are going to play. So I think this is an opportunity where you have to step up and you have to show these NFL clubs, I am willing to compete no matter what. And if I do fail, guess what? That's what the pro day is for.
Right. Hey, now I want to get into go ahead.
Yeah, if I don't have a good showing at the combine, come see my pro day.
Right. Now I want to get into Texas Tech inside linebacker Jacob Rodriguez, who went to college as a quarterback, converted to an inside linebacker. He had meetings this week at the combine, including with the Chicago Bears and also the Denver Broncos, and he thought both of those interviews went well. Talking specifically about the Broncos, he said, quote, I had a great conversation with them. Their room was really aligned, how they were asking questions and what they wanted to know. I think it kind of showed how much they trust each other and trust the coaching staff. That's why they had a lot of success this year. Great organization, great coaches, great place to be. I'd be very excited to play in Denver. Now, before we get into Rodriguez as a player, we just saw the report card from the NFLPA. I'm not so sure you can get a higher endorsement than somebody saying that they trust each other, they are aligned, they're a great organization. I mean, if that isn't a bumper sticker, I don't know what is for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems that Sean Payton and George Payton going into their fourth year together, they really are clicking on all cylinders. And it's one of those things where they probably are completing each other's sentences. And Coach Payton's probably speaking 90% of the time, and George Payton's maybe putting in 10% of that conversation. But it does feel like this Denver Broncos team is in a really good place. And it's not just like one of those organizations where it's like, oh, we have a Patrick Mahomes, come play with Patrick. Or I got a Tom Brady, come play with Tom Brady. It just feels like, okay, you can play for this great ownership. This general manager is one of the best in the NFL. Sean Payton's one of the best coaches. And then we have all these assistant coaches that everybody seems to love. It just seems like one of those scenarios where it truly is this organization from top down is in one of the best places that they've been in a really, really long time. And for young prospects to go out and have an eloquent response to a question like that, it says a lot about how these young kids who are interviewing with the Denver Broncos feel okay, this is a team that's going in the right direction. Because aside from this season, let's be honest, they haven't had success that would blow you out of the water. If you're a college kid, these college kids probably watch a little bit like as a casual fan, especially since they're in their season. And so unless there's a Tom Brady or a Patrick Mahomes, you probably don't know a lot about the Denver Broncos. And so to be able to go into an interview, maybe not knowing as much about the organization as we do, and to be gave that eloquent answer, I think that says a lot about what the Denver Broncos are currently building.
Let's just start with this. I wouldn't say with 100% certainty that Dre Greenlaw is going to be back next year. He was not happy here. And it showed when he gave an interview following the season. But I can promise you, from the people that I've talked to, it goes far deeper than that. I would not be surprised if Dre Greenlaw is not here. I'm not saying he won't be. I'm just saying I would not be surprised. Now let's look at Strnad and Singleton. Let's say one of those guys comes back, and Allen and Rodriguez are still on the board at 30. Do you take one of those guys, and do you prefer one over the other?
I probably would take the best player available. And so what does that mean? Is there a tight end out there that would be a better fit for the Denver Broncos that's a better quote-unquote player than one of these linebackers? I would do that because I still have a little PTSD of what the Broncos did last year with Jahdae Barrett. I felt that there were better players that could make a bigger impact on the team than Jahdae, but they elected to go with a corner with the first-round pick. So if there's a player that I feel like has a better opportunity to make an impact day one for the Denver Broncos, I would go there. Between Allen and Rodriguez, I really like what I saw from Rodriguez. I like his IQ. I like the fact that he was a quarterback because I think that he can understand the game from that perspective on the offensive side of the ball. And I think he has a high football IQ on the defensive side. So that would be more of my preference. And I think if you lose at Singleton or Strnad, I think his play style fits more of kind of what Alex and Justin fit, whereas I think Allen is a little bit more of that aggressive, tenacious Dre Greenlaw side. So it really just comes down to, what does Vance Joseph feel like he needs to replace? Does he need to feel like he needs to replace the production of a Dre Greenlaw? Then maybe you go the side of an Allen. But if he feels like, okay, you're losing Alex Singleton, who was one of the play callers on the defensive side of the ball, I think Rodriguez has the football IQ on both sides of the football that he could come in and he could make that impact.
Both of those guys are terrific green dot players, meaning they're great leaders on the field. Both have pretty good football IQs. Both are athletic. I'm going to give you a little pushback on the Jahdae Barron thing. Before we give up on Jahdae Barron, people were ready to run Garrett Bowles out of town after the first year. Okay, there are a lot of guys that take time to develop. After Nick Benito's first year, were you sold on him? I don't think anybody was sold on him. It takes guys to develop. We won't get into Jaquan McMillan, who I think the Broncos want back and should bring back, but I digress. Getting back to Jahdae, though, he was the best player available on the board. What you're saying is you wanted a position, if I'm hearing you correctly, you wanted a position that could have helped them now. But you're don't take this the wrong way, but you're talking out of both sides of your mouth there, because Jahdae Barron was the best player available on the board at that time. Getting back to Rodriguez or Allen, I'd be very reticent to take either guy at 30, even if you need an inside linebacker. And here's the reason why. There is tremendous depth at that position, and they're all very close. You don't have, outside of maybe Styles, you have about 2 through 5 who are completely bunched together. Unless the Broncos have fallen in love with someone, you are getting similar graded players. No, you can't. I would think they can get one of those guys in the second round. And if you have to, trade up to do it, right?
Yeah, because it does feel like this is like a line. This is not a sexy kind of draft. Like, aside from Fernando Mendoza going #1 overall to what the Raiders, or if the Raiders trade him, like, this is an NFL draft where you're going to get a lot of value at the linebacker position and positions that don't necessarily pop in the NFL season unless you're like a Fred Warner. So maybe that's a scenario where you're right in the sense that the Denver Broncos could get a best guy at that position that they need at 30. I just think from the standpoint of the Denver Broncos, you're in a championship window, so you have to make sure that you love one of these guys, because I don't want to throw shots at anybody, but you don't want to have a scenario where you have like a Drew Sanders, where you're like having a project and then he gets injured and then you're not really sure what you want to do with the guy. Like, at 30, you need to have an exact vision of what you want for that player, how they're going to make an impact, and how they're going to help you win a championship. Because I'm sure that you and Troy have talked about, down the line, eventually you're going to have to pay Bo Nix. And how much is that going to cost? And how much is that going to hamstring what they're able to do from a perspective of getting depth and the best players around Bo Nix? So can you get some of these guys at positions on a rookie deal so that when you do pay Bo, you still have these guys that are developing and not getting paid as much money? Maybe that's what you do at linebacker in the first round. And maybe it's Rodriguez, maybe it's Allen, but it does feel like there are a bunch of different linebackers with different skill sets, but also around the similar grade at that position.
I don't want to get you in trouble here. Give me a really short answer, though. Do you ever gamble on sports, like on your phone, ever once in a while? Okay.
Never done it once.
I do. And I can tell you right now, you couldn't pay me enough to bet on the NBA MVP. And I'll tell you why next. Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Black Hawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or nearly $25,000 in cash the weekend of May 16th. Earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming points on your player card. You can also earn a chance to win during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
And welcome back. Hot Takes. Goodman and Myck Miller from Fox 31 Channel 2 is filling in this morning. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
As a guy who occasionally gambles on sports, I think betting on the NBA MVP is a very, very risky proposition. These are the players who are in danger of missing all of the NBA awards because they may not play 65 games this season. Jokic can miss 1 more game. Devin Booker can miss 3 more games. Wembanyama can miss 4 more games. Luka, 5 more games. SGA, 6 more games. Anthony Edwards, 7 more games. LeBron, Steph Curry, Giannis, they're out completely because they're not going to hit 65 games. The NBA started this rule, Mick, nearly 2 years ago to prevent teams from load managing their players. But looking at this list, does the NBA need to tweak this rule? Because right now, if all of those guys I just mentioned miss games, and this is not a knock on him, your NBA MVP will be Cade Cunningham.
I'm on record multiple times saying that
On
Adam
record,
Silver is the
on
worst
record,
commissioner.
on record with who? Who are you on record with?
On record with my loyal Colorado Sports Night viewership, Monday through Friday at 11 on the CW. Adam Silver is the worst commissioner in sports, and it's not particularly close. The decisions that he has made as the commissioner are some of the most idiotic moves of all time. And this one in particular takes the cake, because he was trying to figure out how to stop these players from load managing. But I hate the fact that there is this game requirement that affects the money of NBA players. Because guess what? First team All-NBA, second team All-NBA, third team All-NBA, MVP awards, they are contingent on players getting these recognitions from voters in the National Basketball Association. And what he has done with this in particular, listen, if a guy misses half the games, the writers are smart enough. And guess what? These writers aren't particularly bright, but they're smart enough to know, okay, he can't be in consideration for MVP. He only played half the games. But if a Nikola Jokic is playing 64 of 82, and you analyze how the Nuggets were with him, how they were without him, and you watch the games and you see the impact that a Nikola Jokic or a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has, whether they're in and out of the lineup, you can make an educated decision on whether or not they are worthy of a first-team All-NBA nod or an MVP award. I think that what they tried to do was an overreaction and a quick decision and something they put together very quickly to try to fix a problem, when in reality they didn't actually look at, hey, this just not only affects MVPs, this affects also bench guys, rookies. You're not going to be able to take a sweeping declaration of an MVP and an All-NBA award and apply it to all 15 guys on an NBA roster. I think that this rule is a terrible one. And I think that if it goes into effect where you said all these guys are eliminated and a Cade Cunningham, a young star in this league, wins an MVP, and he probably is an MVP, but because he won it because so many other guys were eliminated, then you just created a whole nother problem. I'm not a fan of this rule. Never happened.
I think the injuries are legit. If they're legit injuries, it should not be counted against someone. Now, if they're playing half the games, I'm with you. But it's trying to curb load managing, and that is a problem in this league. That's a huge problem in this league. You go pay a ticket to go see a player, and he's not playing because he's on the back end of a back-to-back. That is a problem. And I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this, but let's have a quick back and forth. Please explain to me why Adam Silver is the worst commissioner ever in the history of the NBA. I don't really get that argument. And let's not start with the All-Star game, because he has no control over whether these guys want to play hard or not.
No, the All-Star game is a microcosm of what the NBA is.
That has
today.
nothing to do with him. Zero.
But the play-in tournament, I think, is stupid. I think that the in-season tournament is stupid. And I think from a decision of trying to because let's be honest, a lot of these NBA ratings and the issues with the TV deals and the issue with the RSNs that can't broadcast games, that could be fixed by Adam Silver. I think that he puts pressure, and then he's said a lot of really stupid things. Like a couple of years ago, he said that NBA is a highlight type of league. And so they're really working on TikTok and Instagram and getting their social media numbers.
It's not a highlight type of league?
Hey, even if it is, as a commissioner, you can't be the one to go out and say that. You need to be able to make sure that these. It is the truth. But here's the job of the commissioner. The job of the commissioner is to do the best job for the leagues and the owners. He's not supposed to be doing the job for TikTok and Instagram. Your job is to make sure that the viewership of the NBA, the popularity of the NBA grows. Listen, things can pop on Instagram. Things can pop on TikTok. Is that going to live forever? You can have a viral moment on Instagram and social media, but can you have the staying power of making sure that the league grows consistently? That's why Roger Goodell is having so much success, because they grow from a TV perspective, whereas the NBA has fallen just on a huge dramatic fall. So I think there have been decisions by Adam Silver where he has not done what has been best for the league. I think he's a players commissioner, but sometimes you have to be able to be the grown up in the room and make decisions for these guys that's best for the league. And I just don't think that he has done that on a consistent basis. David Stern, that was a guy that was going to do what was best for business, and to heck with all these players and what they wanted. He was going to do what was best for the league, where I feel like Adam Silver, he placates to the players a little bit too much.
I'm not going to say that I think the in-season tournament is a great idea, but I'm not going to say he's a shit commissioner because of it. I just don't like it. I mean, a lot of people, purists specifically, I mean, if you look at any sport where there are purists, it is baseball. Oh, we hate the wild card round. The wild card round is fantastic. As far as the play-in tournament, that opens it up for 4 more markets where they still have a chance to get in. What's wrong with that?
I also am basing this take that I have about Adam Silver with conversations that I've had with people in the league. Like, there are some people that have been in the NBA a long time who do not like the decisions that Adam Silver has made. They do not like the direction of the NBA because, let's be honest, this is a league. And I know it's difficult in 2026 when we have an attention span that lasts probably 5.2 seconds. But this is a league, in particular the NBA, that cannot compete with the NFL in season. So when do people start tuning in? Typically after the All-Star break. But I would argue a lot of people don't tune into the playoffs when they actually have these series. So, like, this is something that I've talked to people with. And it's an opinion that I have based on my own opinion, but I've also got bits and pieces from other people that the NBA is in a bad spot because when people talk about the NBA, what do they talk about typically? They have these conversations that we're having about, is this rule stupid? What is wrong with the ratings? What's wrong with the All-Star game? What's wrong with the in-season? Like, it's not like the NFL where it's just like, oh, can't wait to talk about this game, this matchup, da-da-da-da-da. It's usually a negative connotation that surrounds the discussion around the NBA until it gets playoff time. Then we start talking about the playoff matchups and the actual basketball that's being played.
Yeah, you and I could go back and forth on this all day. With that, do you think Jokic will make the cut to win the MVP? It's one more game.
I think eventually he's going to miss a game. Like, whether it's the second night of a back-to-back or whether it's a game where they maybe are playing, like, for example, a Washington Wizards type of team, I think that David Adelman is going to prioritize rest because I think he probably learned under Michael Malone pushing these guys to the limit going into the playoffs isn't the best scenario possible. So I do think that Jokic is going to miss a game. Also, the dude is dealing with a bunch of injuries that I'm sure we don't know about. I mean, he had the big brace at the All-Star game on his wrist. That's something that he's been dealing with the last couple of years. I do think eventually he is going to miss a game, which would then disqualify him from the game.
No, he can miss. It's 2 games. He can miss one more. It's 2 games he cannot miss. If he plays it out, it's 66 games. Excuse me, it's 69, 68. If he misses, it's 65? If he plays out the rest of the string, he will have played 66 games, I believe.
I can see him missing game 82 if they've already locked up a seed. And then I can also see him missing a game, maybe whether it's quote-unquote load managing, even though Jokic doesn't do that, or maybe injury management is a better word to describe how he probably will miss probably 2 games and then be disqualified from the MVP.
Okay, let's say for the sake of argument, he does win the MVP. He'll become only the 6th player in NBA history to win at least 4 MVPs. He will join Jordan, Abdul-Jabbar, LeBron James, Bill Russell. Okay? And I am missing somebody there, but he'll be the 6th player to do it. Should this automatically put Jokic in the conversation of top 10 all time, or does this hinge on being in that conversation, winning 1 more title?
You have to win titles. And the NBA, especially because a great player has such a big impact, unlike the NFL or the NHL, because the offensive player can play on both sides of the court on basketball, he's going to be judged by championships. Because if you look at the guys that are currently in and out of a top 10 list, they have multiple championships. And a guy like Steve Nash has 2 MVPs. That's the same amount as D Wade, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kobe Bryant combined. The MVP award is a great regular season award to have. But if you're going to be an all-time great, if you're going to be a top 10 player of this league, you have to have multiple championships. 2 with the 4 MVPs, I think that then qualifies him to be a top 10 guy. You can then debate and try to figure out where he falls. Like, do you jump Larry Bird out? Do you jump whoever out to get Jokic in there? But he has to have multiple championships in order to be considered a top 10 all-time great.
I am not saying you, but I'm saying that to me, it's lazy analysis and it is naive. Let's look at the guys who have won multiple championships. Okay. Jordan, he had one of the greatest players of all time next to him in Scottie Pippen. And then
please don't make an argument that Nikola Jokic and Michael Jordan are even on the same playing field or let alone in the same stratosphere.
Okay. As an all-around
That's what I hate about Denver sports. I hate to interrupt you. Nikola Jokic is great. By no stretch of the imagination am I not saying he's great, but nobody criticizes Nikola Jokic, and people always try to put him on the level of these all-time greats.
Let me just finish this thought.
He's a great.
First of all, I grew up a Bulls fan. I watch more Bulls games than anybody in this entire state. Anybody. I grew up in Chicago. Okay. No one could claim they watched more Bulls games than I did. I grew up a Bulls fan, watching them be a terrible team with Ronnie Lester and Tom Borwinkle and Granville Waiters. They were awful. I watched all the Bulls games. What I'm going with is Jordan played with Pippen and Rodman. Abdul Jabbar played with Worthy and Magic. You have Russell, who played with a whole cast of all-stars and also a cast of Hall of Famers. Wilt Chamberlain, he played with great players as well. As far as Nikola Jokic goes, he has played with one all-star, and that's this year. So when it comes to winning a title, a guy cannot do it by himself. And I will tell you this, watching the Bulls enough, Michael Jordan never would have won a title without Scottie Pippen. Ever. And Jordan would tell you the same. Now, let's get back to Michael Jordan. Nikola Jokic is a better offensive player than Michael Jordan ever was. Better. Clutch, maybe not. Defensively, no way. Best all-around player is Michael Jordan. Offensively,
how do you judge best offensive player? What metrics are you using, though?
Because he does everything at the highest level possible. Scoring, rebounding, and assists. Everything. Jordan wasn't that guy. Jordan was a great player. I was a fan. Here, let me show you something. I'm going to pull it right out of my cabinet right here. How big of a Jordan fan am I? First ever cover on Sports Illustrated, signed. Second ever, signed. These aren't props that I thought maybe we'll have this conversation. I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan. As far as offensively goes, the only guy who can even compare to him would probably be Wilt Chamberlain, but that was a different era. Michael Jordan, in his best year, would never, ever lead the league in rebounding and assists. Ever. And if Jokic wants to score 40, he can score 40 whenever he feels like it. Great scorers can do that. Give me a guy who's better than Jokic when it comes to those three metrics. And no, three-point shooting was not a huge thing back in the day. I'm sure Jordan probably would have been terrific. But for a guy who plays center, shooting the three-point ball the way that Jokic does, he's on his own level as well, considering his size. On the offensive end, no one has ever been better. Who would I rather have on my team? Michael Jordan all day, plus his mentality as well. I suppose I don't have a problem with a guy punching a teammate in practice as long as they win a championship. Jordan is the best player to ever play the game. On one end of the floor, it is Nikola Jokic. When you argue with Jokic, who's the greatest center of all time, what they are factoring in is Olajuwon was unbelievable defensively, and so was Russell, and so was Abdul Jabbar. Both ends of the floor, no, Jokic is not in that conversation. But on one end of the floor, he is the best to ever play the game.
We could probably, there's a lot of topics I feel like we could probably go on for about 3 hours, but I cannot believe you're saying Jokic is better than Michael Jordan from an offensive perspective. I get the analytics and the numbers and all of those things, but also, you have to factor in Nikola Jokic has great regular seasons where he puts up these crazy stats, but in the postseason, those numbers diminish, whereas Michael Jordan, those numbers would elevate. And I'm not even talking about a LeBron James, who I think is a better offensive player than Nikola Jokic in his prime. LeBron James does all of what you said offensively that Nikola Jokic does, but did it at such a higher level and then elevated in the postseason as well and went on to win championships. That's why when you're judging these NBA players, regular seasons are cool, but the best players take their game to a whole nother level in the postseason and then a whole nother level at the championship level and win NBA championships, because an NBA superstar can have an impact that a Nathan McKinnon can't have because he's not on the ice 100% of the time, or a Bo Nix can have because guess what? Bo Nix doesn't play defense. I just feel like Nikola Jokic, great player, but in order for him to get into the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, all these kind of guys conversation, he has to have multiple championships. One is just not going to get it done, because in 20 years, guess what? Kids are not going to be talking about that 30-20-10 Jokic game that he had in February. They're going to be saying, well, what did he do in the postseason? How many championships did he win? And was he able to will a franchise to winning a world championship?
Mick, you're forgetting about who else is on the team. The best teams win a championship. Michael Jordan
And the
was
Nuggets
on a
have
better
a great
team.
They have a great team.
They have a great team.
The Nuggets have had a great team that could have won a championship, because let's get into the weeds of things. That was a completely different area of the CBA and how the NBA was constructed as to team building. The Denver Nuggets have a top 3 roster the last 4 or 5 years that could have won an NBA championship. And because of the way that the CBA has been laid out by the great Adam Silver, you can't stockpile all-star talent the way that you were able to in previous years. So you have a superstar player, Nikola Jokic. Do you have depth around them? Do you have a good coach? Do you have a great organization? That's what the Denver Nuggets have. If you're competing against the Minnesota Timberwolves, guess what? It's really just Anthony Edwards over there. And Anthony Edwards at 22 and 23 was able to compete and go toe-to-toe with a Nikola Jokic. The Oklahoma City Thunder, I get that they have a Chet Holmgren and a Jalen Williams alongside of SGA, but those guys were also drafted and developed the same way that Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray were. And then you add in an Aaron Gordon. The Denver Nuggets have had a team that could have won a championship, even though they didn't have a quote-unquote all-star until this year, in my opinion.
Having great players helps you win championships. And Abdul-Jabbar had 2 Hall of Famers, right? Larry Bird had multiple Hall of Famers. Michael Jordan had multiple Hall of Famers. The only guys getting into the Hall of Fame on the Nuggets roster outside of Jokic are those guys buying tickets. That matters. They're going to have to buy a ticket to get into the Hall of Fame. Aaron Gordon's not going in. Jamal Murray's not going in. They played with Hall of Fame players. No individual. Give me an example of an individual player since 1980 that has won an NBA title when it was just him. And you can't find one, and that's my point.
Dirk Nowitzki took down the Heatles in 2011. I get he had Jason Kidd on his team, but Jason Kidd was not an all-star caliber player at that juncture in his career. Dirk Nowitzki, probably one of the greatest titles by a player of all time.
So with that, I would liken that to Jokic. Just because you can hit a home run doesn't make you a home run hitter. So you found one example in 46 years. That is an outlier. That is not a pattern.
Well, Nikola Jokic was one of those guys as well that won a championship without having a caliber player. SGA, are you going to say that Jalen Williams or Chet Holmgren are going to be Hall of Fame players in the upcoming years? The Boston Celtics won with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I'm not sure either of those guys are Hall of Famers as it stands right now.
Well, they're too young. They're way too young. But what they are all-stars. That's what they are. And the Nuggets cannot boast that. He has really good listen, the year the Nuggets won a championship, Jamal Murray played like a Hall of Famer, but he's not going to go into the Hall of Fame. He had a Hall of Fame type playoff run. Is that fair to say?
I would say pump your brakes on the Hall of Fame, because just about anybody gets into the Basketball Hall of Fame. All Jamal Murray really needs to do is win maybe another championship and then keep playing at the level he's playing at. Because guess what? A guy like Grant Hill, I love him, but career-wise, if you put Murray's career against Grant Hill's career, I would take Jamal Murray's career. So there's a lot of guys that get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. I don't know if that's the metric that you want to use as to what a great player is, because just about anybody can get into the Basketball Hall of Fame if you're popping on social media or you're having like a career that's really accepted by everybody. Let's be honest, a lot of these Denver Nuggets, Aaron Gordon has had years where he's an all-star caliber player, as has Jamal Murray. But the all-star game is a popularity contest, and a lot of these guys aren't on social media promoting themselves or don't have a Nike shoe brand. That's why I wouldn't judge by an all-star or the Basketball Hall of Fame. Those are all subjective. If you actually watch, the Denver Nuggets have had a lot of really, really, really good players, and I wouldn't put Jamal Murray out of a Hall of Fame conversation just yet. He's 29. He's probably got another 3 or 4 really good years, and if he can win championships alongside Nikola Jokic, that's a Hall of Fame career that might open up for him.
As we sit here right now, there's a better chance of me eating a dozen apples and shitting a fruit salad than Jamal Murray getting into the Hall of Fame. Jamal Murray had 2 great playoff runs, and he's had a great regular season. That's his career so far.
And Vince Carter had a great dunk contest and dunked on a lot of people and got into the Hall of Fame. Tracy McGrady, by the way, going into the Hall of Fame, had great regular seasons. when it got to the postseason, they put out an APB for him to see if he could actually show up for a playoff.
How healthy was Tracy McGrady? How healthy was Tracy McGrady?
He was very healthy in his Orlando years, in those first couple years in Houston, healthy enough to garner a huge Adidas deal. Because let's be honest, a lot of these shoe brands, they're not going to stay with a guy that's not on the court. So he was healthy enough to make a lot of money. He was healthy enough to have a lot of shoe deals, and he was healthy a lot to be considered one of the faces of the NBA. Just couldn't compete. And in my book, I'd rather have a guy that is able to compete at the playoff level and win championships than put together gaudy stats against the Washington Wizards in December.
Mick, what do you have coming up on Colorado Sports Night?
Big show tonight. We're going to continue breaking down the Colorado Avalanche and the Denver Nuggets as they get down to the final 20 or so games going into the postseason. And we're going to have more draft combine coverage as to what the Denver Broncos should do in free agency, in the draft, and see if they can build on their 14-3 campaign this past season.
I hope your boss was not watching the show. And you know exactly what I mean. Rewind this tape if you're watching it in full, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Mick, have a great weekend. Thanks for your time. You've been watching Hot Takes, Goodman and Rank. Make it the best possible weekend you can.